fifth knock of the prisoner exchange between the Palestinian side and the Israeli side took place today, and Hamas and the Palestinian resistance decided to label it, "We are the flood, we are the day after," meaning that they are the day after the war. There's been a lot of talk about who's going to be controlling Gaza after the war, with Israel and its allies primarily led by the United States saying that Hamas shouldn't be there the day after and there should be no threat to Israel. These people should be disarmed there. All of the talk is against the side that is oppressed, the side that is occupied, the side that's been ethnically cleansed. No talk about the day after Israel, the day after the war criminals, the day after the genocide, the day after the occupational entity that commits all of these crimes. However, Hamas did have an answer also to the day after based on certain statements coming from one of their political figures that I will be getting to shortly after in this video. But the title when it comes to the release from Al-Qassam Brigade said, "We are the flood and we are the day after." Again, messages in every knock of prisoner exchange from Hamas and the Palestinian resistance. They'll use weapons, they'll use locations, and this time they're telling them we are the day after and Benjamin Netanyahu is going to go away. The numbers of Palestinians who were released in exchange for the 3 Israeli prisoners was 183. And these Palestinian prisoners who are now freed have described abuses and tortures that are unimaginable. One of them said that since the 7th of October 2023, Israel had this all-out punishment against all of the prisoners as if they were the ones who conducted the 7th of October attacks. Although this was something that was ordered by the then Minister of Interior Security and National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, to make things harder on the Palestinian prisoners. And many of them were maimed, many of them were martyred. One of them said that they were torturing them up until the moment that they released them. And upon their release, they forced them to read out a biblical verse saying that we are the eternal people, as in Israel. We're the eternal people. We chase our enemies and we get them. And they also attacked some of the families of those prisoners who were released so that they don't celebrate, because it's forbidden to celebrate as well. They want to have controls over people's feelings, not just their movement and lives and how you feel. You shouldn't feel happiness or anything positive. But they described very traumatic things in the prisons, and over 100 of the prisoners went to Gaza today. Many of them were imprisoned after the 7th of October. The most interesting thing that's going to be happening, according to Israeli reports, from tomorrow morning is the fact that Israel will be withdrawing from the remaining part of the Netzarim corridor. Israel tried to have multiple delays when it comes to this withdrawal, saying that no, Hamas needs to adhere to the actual agreement before we withdraw, but now they're actually withdrawing. This withdrawal is one of the biggest accomplishments of the Palestinian resistance during these negotiations. This now means that Israel will withdraw further away from Salah ad-Din Road, the area that the Palestinians use vehicles to go back to the north on. And now the movement between the north and the south is going to be even freer. So people from the north can go down south with vehicles, and there's going to be lots of numbers of people going in, and also more aid in all parts of Gaza. Another withdrawal that's due to take place during the initial phase is a complete withdrawal from the Philadelphia corridor. And there are some expectations that this might happen in the next few days. However, these withdrawals from Israel, they are very censored. You usually start knowing about them as and when they happen. As a matter of fact, Israel has countermeasures to show as if, no, we're actually deploying to cover up the fact that they're withdrawing from these areas. And they go to such far extents, they do these such far-fetched things to cover up all of that. What did they do? They actually redeployed 3 divisions in the buffer zone inside of Gaza. Now, many people, the first thing that they would say, this might indicate that Israel is going in to a war again. They're going to finish phase 1 and then they're going to go to an all-out war with Gaza, which is absolutely a possibility. However, on the ground, they are still implementing the things that they agreed upon in the ceasefire agreement. So now they deployed divisions 99, 143, and 162 in the buffer zone areas that stretch about 700 meters on average. And according to them, this was in line with the ceasefire agreement. How? Why? Not sure of that. But again, this is not something inside of populated areas. All of the populated areas are now empty of any IDF terrorists. All of the terrorist forces inside populated areas have withdrawn, and tomorrow they're going to even complete it further with the withdrawal from the Netzarim. However, this move is mostly suspected to be a move to cover up this humiliation. And the people are trying to avoid the talk about this withdrawal, only shy flash, news here and there that they're going to withdraw from the remaining part of the Netzarim corridor. Why is this something significant? This is significant because Israel intended for the Netzarim corridor to be the area that splits Gaza in half when they completely get rid of all of the population in North Gaza as an initial step to later ethnically cleanse the south as well. Because it was too difficult to ethnically cleanse everyone from the beginning, they thought, okay, let's have this general's plan, we'll expand the Netzarim corridor. They've had approximately 6 bases altogether in the Netzarim corridor, and they had this general's plan in the north for approximately 3 months to try and force everyone out, so that the north can remain empty. However, the people, Israel started with the most northern parts like Beit Hanun, Beit Lahia, and Jabalia, trying to force people down to Gaza and then follow them to the Gaza Valley to expel them down south to the Netzarim corridor. People still remained there, and they even remained in the areas that were mostly hit during this what they call the general's plan, the genocidal general's plan, and remained in the north. Now that they're withdrawing and allowed all of this influx of people, over 500,000 back to the north, they've put all of their military genocidal operation in the bin. They've put the soldiers' trust at a historical low when it comes to the faith in the Israeli army and the campaigns that they're conducting, because a place like Jabalia, where the Israeli army was deployed so many times, only to withdraw later on and to allow Hamas back, Hamas re-emerging from everywhere and the people going back. The soldiers will tell you, well, what did I go and die for? What did I go through this whole operation? Why did you send me there when you could have had all of this deal before? So a lot of the moves that Israel is conducting today is only to cover up the grave failure. And the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu decided to split this ceasefire agreement to 3 phases is going back at him like a boomerang and hitting him in his face with the scenes that are coming from Gaza. Instead of having all of a sudden an agreement with Gaza that includes everything, an all-out full agreement where they exchange everyone, get everything that they want, and the Palestinians likewise, they decide to split it so that they can have damage controlled when it comes to the image and the levels of losses and concessions they give to the Palestinian side. Image, an image of victory. However, instead now we have scenes from Gaza, these power scenes from the Palestinian resistance, military marches, thousands of armed members of the Palestinian resistance, full control and challenging Israel, and we're the day after, and we're the flood, and the people are going back. And Netanyahu, that's the worst thing that can happen to him. And these things are happening every single week, instead of him just having a one-off agreement and getting getting everything all over and done with. However, the people in Israel are not happy, especially those who still have prisoners inside of Gaza. They're saying that we think that Netanyahu actually wants to end this ceasefire now and go back to Gaza. He already killed so many people. He is already in charge of the 7th of October massacre, and now he wants to drag us again to another round of war. They're not trusting him whatsoever, despite all of the actions on the ground. Which leads me to the political situation when it comes to Hamas. Today there was an interview with Bassem Naim, a senior member of Hamas, who said that Israel has no say in what happens in Gaza. And the agreement states that Israel has no say, didn't discuss the day after. However, this is confirming that Israel is babbling, by the way, all of talk of the day after. But he said, however, we would happily hand over the management of Gaza to any national Palestinian side that all political parties agree upon and has the Palestinian interests at their heart, the best of the Palestinian interests. And we offered that in 2014, we offered that in 2021. However, there was a rejection, of course, from the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, he had rejections because he wanted to control Gaza directly without any other independent movements working for the interests of the Palestinian people. So Bassem Naim is saying we actually have no interest in running everything when it comes to Gaza. If we can have a technocratic government or people, individuals who the political parties, there's a consensus upon them, then fine. However, that's not happening. And sure as hell, we're not going to give our enemies any say when it comes to the day after Gaza. And the fact that Al-Qassam brigades with the handing of the prisoners of war today in Gaza said we're the day after, they're clearly sending a message that it doesn't matter what kind of political party come. At the end of the day, it's the resistance there, so long as there is an occupation, fighting this genocidal entity up until the liberation and the justice for the Palestinian people. Then a Hamas delegation went to Iran to meet with the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who said that you have defeated Israel and the United States. He told the Hamas members, you defeated Israel and the US. Why did you defeat Israel and the US? Because it's the US behind these people. The fact that Gaza survived and made Israel fail in achieving any of their objectives in Gaza is a massive blow to Israel and is a massive victory to the Palestinian people. He said the people of Gaza have become a role model for all those whose hearts are attached to the resistance. And the issue of defending Palestine and supporting the Palestinian people is beyond doubt in the minds of the Iranian people. And the fact that the Palestinian people stood against the Zionist entity with strength and dignity and achieved great accomplishments. And the Palestinian side as well, they spoke to him as it's a joint victory. It's a victory for us, and it's also a victory for Iran, showing appreciation for Iran for its position in supporting the Palestinian resistance. This is a show of maturity, both from Hamas and from Iran. A country and a movement that had their disagreements. For example, when it comes to Syria, there were even cases of certain Hamas members fighting on the opposing side of Iran in Syria to a level where Iranians said it's like we're fighting ourselves side of Syria. And despite that, they are united in their resistance and they view everything from a strategic perspective against the genocidal entity. And the fact that the Hamas delegation are saying that this is a victory for us and we're celebrating it together shows how much of a role Iran played when it comes to this victory in Gaza. Of course, it's the Palestinian people primarily and the Palestinian resistance. However, as a country, Iran has been supporting the Palestinian resistance, the Palestinian cause, before Hamas even existed. So to them, it's a case of ideology, it's a case of a belief, and that's clearly visible. Iran has done more to the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause than any other Arab country that's next to Palestine. It's an important message. It's an important message of unity, and it's also a very strong position of a united resistance front against Israel, showing that Iran is still supporting the Palestinian resistance and supporting Hamas as well when it comes to fighting Israel. Moving on to Jordan. Lots of tensions between the Jordanian side, the Egyptian side, the US administration, and Israel too. The Jordanian king, there were reports from two very senior officials in Jordan, that was reported on Reuters, saying that the Jordanian king will pass to Trump severe warnings when he meets him in Washington in relation to the displacement of Gazans. And this notion that they can relocate to Jordan is a recipe for extremism. It will spread radicalism, chaos in the Middle East, and threaten the peace treaty with Israel and threaten the security of Jordan. This is the second time in a matter of 2 days that the peace treaty with Israel is being put forward. Yesterday was by Egypt in the meetings that their officials are having with the Americans, and now it's with Jordan. Clearly, there is either a coordination between the two countries, or they both individually view this a threat that is very equal when it comes to the severity of it. Today also, Egypt published another video to their army, showing all of the deployment in Sinai and the fact that we are showing no enmity to anyone. However, we have a limit to our patience. Egypt is flexing muscles. Jordan is now threatening, even though they are far more inferior in military capabilities. Egypt is different though, because Egypt has a very strong military. But all of that indicates that there are serious tensions between these two countries who have a peace treaty with Israel and who are allies to the United States and who were heavily criticized during this genocide for their lack of decisive action to stop the genocide or use all of their diplomatic and political, economic, financial leverage to stop the genocide in Gaza. Even with all of that, these tensions are real, and Israel is also taking actions too. Today, the IDF declared that they are having military drills in the West Bank, the Jordan Valley, the Dead Sea, and the Golan Heights. 3 out of the 4 are directed at the West Bank and Jordan. The fact that they're conducting military drills in the Jordan Valley and the Red Sea, aside from the one in the West Bank, these are clear indications that they're preparing that something might happen on the borders with Jordan. So this is not just talk about threats or talks about, we might actually have a war if they try and impose the solution. The decision makers in Israel are clearly taking this idea seriously about this prospect of displacing the Palestinians. Now they're talking about, allowing some of them into the Ramon airport. Of course, there's the big argument is it's a part of a psychological warfare against the Palestinian people led by Trump to try and make them feel like, no, it's coming and that's it, and we're very keen. These people don't know the will of the Palestinian people, the strength, the resilience, the belief, the faith of the Palestinian people. However, they're still continuing with these plans, and they are taking actions. And the actions that the Israeli army, with the military drills that are taking place in the West Bank, in the Jordan Valley, and in the Dead Sea in particular, they are there for Jordan. and they are not for only the Palestinian resistance in the West Bank. Clearly, they have seen some of the moves that are coming from Jordan, and it's also considering the fact that they might have a campaign in the West Bank to forcibly expel the Palestinian people. In Jenin, tens of thousands had to flee their homes since the operation of Israel began in Jenin and in other parts of the West Bank. And the plan to extend now the authorization of the squatting establishment in the West Bank also adds to the risk. So, despite the fact that it's quite unrealistic to be implemented against the will of all of the Palestinian people, especially after all of this force used, all of this barbarism against the Palestinians for the past 15 months, and then they went back, Israel still views this as an option. They still want to do it, and we don't know to what extent they're willing to go to implement this plan, even if it includes a clash with two of the main countries that they have peace treaties with.